MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome back to the Big Small Business Show. In studio with us, we've got the CEO of Bantusoft, Lehabe Ralekoa. He has just told us his story of how it grows, collapses, and now the strategy is to build their own software product, their own app to go and sell that either in a B2B environment or a B2C environment. So how many apps do you have right now that you are trying to build or to sell? And just give me a sense of what the state of your app development is.
Yeah, I think maybe from the past years, I would say it will be a total of 5 that we've attempted.
Yes.
But now there is one app that we are heavily investing in.
Yes.
It's called the Napenda Health. That's the app or the flavor of the moment in our business right now, that we are ensuring that we are actually pushing out to the private clinics and the startups in they call it entrepreneurship space. That's where our target market is. That's where we're pushing the app to.
The other 4 that are they still around, or have you switched them off? Or?
So yeah, we have completely switched them off.
Yeah.
I think on the 4, what we wanted to do was to get, and it's something that we researched, it's early adoption, to say who would be your first quick client on the app. And I think our aim was to find one big client on the app, and we were not successful. So now we sort of broken it down to say, now how do we go, with smaller clients, still businesses, smaller businesses. And yeah, we're getting traction, but it's not that much, yeah.
So just for me to understand, you say businesses, are they actual clinics, private clinics or private hospitals, or is it the nurses themselves?
So it's private clinics. So I also did not know this. So nurses, just like doctors, they can have their own private practices.
Okay.
So now they don't necessarily have tools and the technology that assist them in the space. So like, for example, setting up your appointments with the patients, capturing those clinical notes, processing your medical aid claims. And you would find in some instances where a nurse has 2 private clinics, you want them to have sight of both, where maybe there will also be transactions that are done via cash, cash transactions. They need to be captured on the same system as well. Your return visits, reminders to the patients. So there's nice little stuff that we added to the app to ensure that it caters for the clinics.
How many nurses or how many private clinics are on your system right now?
So far we've onboarded 10 total. It's because we just launched recently. I think about 2-3 weeks ago.
Right.
And then we're also trying to run a campaign to ensure that we get more.
And how did you get the 10?
So it's word of mouth completely. The first thing that we did was to, like everyone else, you go to social media, you tell everyone in the space. And then we didn't get any feedback. Then we said, you know what, let's just call these people. Yeah, and that's what we are doing right now. So I would say all 10, I know them in person.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question was, how many people, you spoke about having 8 people, how many of them are in sales or selling? Is it just you?
So it's me. So yeah, my team is like technical guys. It's graphics designers. It's a tester. So it's me who does the selling. But also I have 2 ladies who I would say they are the temps. So what happens is nurses, sometimes they will have conferences and summits and so forth. So I take those 2 ladies with some pamphlets and all to go and present, or have a stall there or buy a stall and present to them what we're offering. Yeah.
And in all these apps, there's generally a J-curve for the cost of development, and development slows. In the beginning, it's quite fast, and then it becomes more complex, and it slows down. And just to make one little feature change takes a lot longer than it did, a year before, because of all the databases it has to link to and all the integrations,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
So you can see I've been through this movie. So that generally means that you're slowing down in your feature build, and let's call it improving the product. It's getting more expensive, and how are you sustaining from a J curve? How are you sustaining that financially? Are you supplementing that with your other business, or is it that investor that has come into the business?
So yeah, it's basically from the other businesses, from other projects.
Yes.
So we self-funding our development, our own development. So and I think it's the natures of developers as well that I have, that I think they get bored working on one project.
Yeah.
So you want them to give them 2 or 3, type of projects to be working on. So yeah, that's how we leverage on what we have essentially.
So you said out of the 5 that you've chosen this one, and you switched off all the others, which I commend. But what was why this one? Because your attraction, to be honest, is not that strong with 10. Maybe it is in 2 weeks. That might be 10. I don't know if all 10 are paying and they're maybe on trials or whatever the case may be. But why did you choose this one? What was it about this particular app that made you think that's the one I'm going to back?
So I think one, it blends well with our strategy in terms of our target market. We had a strategy to look into the banks. We had a strategy to look into private insurance and the health. And yeah, I think we have not explored the health market that much as a business. And I think that's why we're going heavily for the next 5 years.
You speak about the nurses as the target market, or the private clinics around the nurses. What is let's say, who would be a bulk buyer, somebody who would have multiple nurses? Who would be a big buyer of your app? In other words, an enterprise plan, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, we and those are the doors that we will still need to knock. There's a new, I would say, a franchise that has come through that we're looking to knock on their doors to see if maybe we can be part of that particular franchise. I don't know yet what tools are they using for the clinics. Basically that's the one that I'm thinking, it can work well, because it will be difficult to remove. I mean, even now, that's the storyline, to say, how do you remove the apps, or maybe what's the way, like, already people have a way of working as it is.
Yeah.
How do you do that change management to say, now, don't use this anymore, use my app, And even with big corporates, I think the hopes are going to be much, much higher there as well. Yeah.
Well, Lehabe, I think I've got enough information. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, I'll have some things to think about for Lehabe.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.